This week on Friday Night Arcade, I want to take a look back at one of the weirdest games I ever played on Super Nintendo, Out of This World. The hero of the story is this Poindexter-looking physicist guy named Lester who drives a Ferrari and works at what can only be described as a Hadron Collider. Lester is kicking back at the lab, drinking a soda, and, doing physicist stuff when a lightning storm makes the particle accelerator go haywire and sends Lester hurtling into another dimension. That's where you come in, taking over as Lester and trying to navigate through this strange new world to get back home. On the surface, this looks like a standard side-scrolling platformer. However, it's anything but standard. Right out of the gate, the game puts you in a murky situation. Lester instantly materializes in the middle of a lake, and you just start sinking to the bottom. If you don't do anything, Lester drowns in seconds. Take too long trying to swim to the top, and the spooky alien seaweed drags you to your death. And if you stand around the top of the lake too long, the seaweed comes out and drags you back into your doom. Wow, we've just died 3 times in under a minute to start the game. Okay, so here's the deal. Instead of just run, jump, and shoot, each area of the game is something of a puzzle, and typically you have to do things in a precise order just to survive. There's a bit of a rhythm to it, and it's not just run to the right and destroy everything that moves. In the first area where Lester materializes in the lake, you immediately have to know that you're going to start in a lake, and you have to tap B to swim to the top before the seaweed grabs you. Then you have to quickly make your way to the right past the leeches that kill you instantly if you touch them. And you notice this creature off in the distance that seems to be tracking you. Keep going to the right, and the creature appears before you. So you have to immediately know that you're supposed to run back to the left as quickly as possible. Keep going to the left past the lake, jump to swing on the vine, and back around the creature, then run back to the right again where you eventually get captured by the evil Potato Man aliens who live on this ludicrous planet. See what I mean? How would you know to do all that? I made it look easy there, but it may take you 20 or 30 minutes worth of guessing just to figure out the right order of things, and that's just how the whole game goes. Sometimes there's even multiple ways to get past an obstacle, and Lester is not at all strong, so one hit will kill you. However, one of the weird potato guys befriends Lester and teams up to help him throughout the game. You also do eventually find a gun, but it's kinda slow and cumbersome at best. It has to be recharged frequently and is mostly used for blasting holes in walls, and you can use it to set up a brief defensive shield or disable security systems. And Lester's only other means of defense is the death kick. The good news is this game is pretty liberal with infinite lives, you restart not too far from where you last croaked, and there's also a simple password system to come back later if needed. The trial and error aspects to the game remind me more of offbeat platform games such as A Boy and His Blob. The modern equivalent might be something along the lines of Limbo, which, by the way, if you've never played Limbo, you should go play Limbo. Seriously. Anyway, so now that we get a chance to look around, this place looks incredible. I've never seen graphics like this on an SNES game before, and to this day, I feel like Out of This World has an artistic palette that is just so incredibly unique. Have you ever seen anything like this? It just feels so offbeat. It's kind of like Oddworld meets Prince of Persia, and it's fun to just look around at the scenery. Also, this is one of the few SNES games I can think of that has load times. How about that? So that's basically what you do, is sneak around this labyrinthian sci-fi maze of a planet trying to avoid dying, and you do die a lot. Everything is out to kill you, from leeches to this thing to potato men with ray guns, spikes, rising water, and all sorts of other hazards. To say too much more about specifics would be a disservice to the game if you've never played it before. Out of This World can technically be beaten in about 30 minutes if you know what you're doing, but it will probably take you hours to figure out the correct path and successfully make your way to the end. Out of This World was developed by French programmer Eric Chahi. In fact, he pretty much did most of the work on this. His name is all over the credits, and it's an impressive feat of programming. This game was originally released in 1991 for the Amiga and Atari ST, under the name Another World. It was later ported to several other consoles and systems in 1992, including the Super Nintendo, Sega Mega Drive, and Sega CD, Atari Jaguar, and so forth. I remember playing it on Super Nintendo as a rental, and I rented it several times. They changed the name from Another World to avoid confusion with a soap opera of the same name, although there was also a TV show called Out of This World, so I don't know. For the most part, all of the versions are fairly similar, although the Amiga and Sega CD versions have way better sound. And the SNES version has some censorship in this odd pool scene with a bunch of naked potato babes. They officially removed 3 pixels to make the aliens have no anus. There was also a sequel titled Heart of the Alien, although this was only released on Sega CD and is not considered to be official canon. Eventually, a 20th anniversary edition was also released on several modern platforms. As for whether or not this game is worth playing today, well, it's worth trying anyway. You can get it pretty cheap for Super Nintendo or find it on a modern platform, and it's so vastly different that I have to say, it's at least worth a look. I love the minimalistic graphics and color palette. However, the stilted controls and trial and error aspects may be too much for some, and that's totally fair. The controls are bad. No, really. The controls are just ugh. Even if you figure out how to get through an area, it may take you 4 or 5 tries just because the controls are so stiff and clunky. Still, the cinematic cutscenes and appealing graphics have a strange, rewarding way of keeping you coming back to see what happens next. It's not perfect, but it's different, addictive, and neat, and I enjoyed the heck out of getting all the way to the end. Give it a try for yourself and see what you think. Or if you did play this game growing up, I'd love to hear your experiences about it. Hey, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Friday Night Arcade.
Mà sướng quá.